follow Dax. Oh, he's all over.
The infamous Hank Palmer.
The jaded lawyer with no respect for the law.
Did that just happen?
How does it feel?
Knowing every person you represent is guilty.
It's fine. Innocent people can't afford me.
All rise. Is there anything either counsel would care to add?
My mom passed away this morning.
Is this the first time your mother passed away, or is this something you do on all the cases you're about to lose?
First time.
So, Grandpa Palmer's dead too?
No, Grandpa Palmer's dead to me. It's like a figure of speech.
Sounds complicated. I should go with you.
Trust me, nobody wants to go to Carlinville, Indiana.
Built these walls of stone.
God, here we go.
And they crumble back today.
We can barely stand the sight of each other.
Henry?
Judge?
Hank, thanks for coming. I'm sure your mother would have appreciated it.
Hank Palmer.
Hank, Sheriff White. It's regarding your father.
Biggest mistake of your career and you just happened to run him over?
Forensics found traces of blood on your dad's car.
I sat on the bench in that courtroom for 42 years. This was an accident, period.
We need to establish a firm defense.
There's no we here, Henry. I wish I liked you more.
I can't stay.
You're a lawyer. He is your father. You leave now, you will regret it.
You're a shined-up wooden nickel, Mr. Palmer. I'm going to impale your client on a first-degree murder charge, and you get a front-row seat.
My father's a lot of unpleasant things, and murder is not one of them. I have memories of us. Then I don't. Why?
Was I tough on you? Yes. I did what I thought was right.
My experience, Hank, sometimes you gotta forgive in order to be forgiven.
You and I are finally done.
Oh, we're not done.
I want to thank Toronto for raising me to love movies.
Hello, hello!
Everyone has a big imagination. All of us do.
This is exciting. My first film to premiere here at the Toronto Film Festival. It's an exciting night.
You are the most globally exciting festival in the world.
A few points before we begin. This press conference will be streamed live at www.tiff.net, and still photographs will be made available on the Tiff Media site. Volunteers with microphones are in the room to assist you with your questions. Please remember to identify yourself and your media outlet. Please also note, no photographs are permitted during this press conference. Only the pre-approved media services may take photographs, and please do so behind the first row. If you could take a moment to turn your cell phones to silent. Our moderator for today is Henri Béhar, and it is now my pleasure to welcome the director, producers, and cast for the film The Judge. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to the press conference for The Judge, and sitting with us today at the far end, my far left, director David Dobkin. Yay! Sitting next to me, the two producers, two of the producers, Mr. David Gambino and Miss Susan Downey. Now, as you know, this is a movie about a dysfunctional family, so I'll start introducing the people who do not belong to the family. As Samantha, the former girlfriend, Miss Vera Farmiga. As the greenhorn lawyer from Indiana, C.P. Kennedy, Mr. Dax Shepard. Now, to quote the movie or paraphrase the movie, this family is an effing Picasso painting. So in this family portrait, the youngest son, Dale, Jeremy Strong. The oldest son, Glenn, Vincent D'Onofrio. The middle one, Robert Downey Jr. And in the title role is the formidable Judge Palmer, the formidable Robert Duvall. And as soon as you want to ask a question, please raise your hand a little bit ahead of time so we can, okay, first question will be here, so we can get the mic to you. When you have the mic, please introduce yourselves and ask your question clearly. Thank you.
My name is Ernesto Garrat from El Mercurio newspaper. My first question goes to Mr. Robert Downey Jr. Your character is really good reading and judging people. What do you think your character would say about Robert Downey Jr. just by meeting you or watching your movies? Thank you.
He'd probably say, I'd love to defend that guy.
It's a cash cow.
Yep, cash. Could open another branch of the law firm just defending him.
Question here.
Yes, good morning. Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun and Sun Media. I'd like to ask Team Downey a question about the release of films where people actually talk to each other about important things. And again, we know this is a superhero movie kind of world that we live in terms of box office, but where is the niche for films where people actually discuss human issues?
Okay, let me track back just a second. Would you, this is the first film produced by Team Downey. So could you tell us what it's exactly all about? Susan?
Well, okay, I'll start. First of all, this is David Gambino, who runs Team Downey for me and Robert, works with us, and was there every day as my fellow producer on the movie, along with Dobkin. And we were really excited that this was the first one, because it isn't one of the big tentpole ones, which Robert and I have been kind of living in for a while. And our hope is that, like you're recognizing, that this will get us going on that conversation of, can we put out movies about real people? When we were inspired to do this and connected with Dobkin on the material, we were inspired by movies that were back in kind of the late 70s, early 80s that were with people talking. And sometimes it's nice to have stakes that don't involve just defending the world. And we had a lot of fun playing with that, and it was certainly a role that I was excited to watch Robert in. And so for us as a company, we're always looking for interesting things. It can be in any genre, but it should drive through character and hopefully tell an interesting story. You guys want to add anything?
I would just say this was the perfect first film for us. You know, we sat down and really talked about the kind of films we wanted to make. These sort of throwback, character-driven movies that studios used to really support and have become more rare now in this climate today, of having to, have big budget movies. Obviously we love those too, but for us, when this script came in and we fell in love with it, there was no other film that we wanted to do as our first movie. So this sort of fit the bill in so many ways for the kind of movies that we want to make as a company.
Robert, you want to add something to?
Well, I mean, obviously, David kind of made his bones doing a certain kind of movie, these very successful comedies, but, he went to Strasberg Institute, and, Susan wound up working for Joel Silver all those years, and we did these kind of big movies, but I see pictures of her at USC in overalls, like doing a night shoot for nothing, for nobody, for something that no one's ever going to see, and we all come from places that are different than we're necessarily associated with. And so to us, this isn't like, wow, we're trying to do this. This is in some ways just a return to where, an aspect of where we've always been.
I'm sorry, Bruce. Now, could you re-ask the second part of the question? Perfect. Okay. Question here?
Yes. Ray Kelly from Mass Live and the Springfield newspapers. For the cast in general, I wonder if you could share any of your experiences filming in Shelburne Falls and in Massachusetts.
Let's go. Pick it up strong.
Yeah. Well, Shelburne Falls was a beautiful pastoral, quintessential American town. The bridge of flowers that crossed the river there. I remember walking across it with Mr. Duvall the day we arrived, and it felt like we were in Carlinville, Indiana. So it was a perfect place.
I'm going to do a more titillating version, which is there's no hotels in that little town, so we were all stuck in bed and breakfasts, and Duvall and Strong and I were all in this same weird house. And my first real conversation with Robert was while he laid down in bed with some pillows, and I sat at the foot of his bed like his son and asked him a trillion questions about movies, and I went back to my room and I thought, I just had pillow talk with Robert Duvall in a weird gingerbread house. What the fuck is going on right now?
I remember the bed, but not the pillows.
Vera?
Look, it was thoroughly soul-quenching. The quaintitude of this town, and it was important for me to feel that as my character was sort of representing small-town Indiana, playing a gal tucked away in rural Indiana for 40-plus years, and and being around these sort of salt of the earth people, and the kind of people that churn their butter and chop their wood. It's fortifying. It's healing. Beautiful town.
Vincent?
I moved into the bed and breakfast. 5 minutes later, I moved out of it.
I remember that.
Yeah, right?
New York snob.
New York snob.
And 5 minutes, how many conversations did you have with the innkeeper? 35, was that?
I tried not to get eye contact with them. And then I stayed at an intersection that had a Domino's on one, a Taco Bell on the other, a golf station, gas station they call them, and still do, right? Yeah. And a little like a 7-Eleven. So I was right at this like fascinating, the thriving section of the city. That's my memory.
First memory you're talking about?
About just being in Shelburne Falls and shooting when we were on location there.
Had two pretty good restaurants. we all love to eat.
Great runner's track around the school there. I spent most of my time fishing and digging for worms and rafting and swimming in the rivers with my children.
Yep.
I have awfully romantic
That's why we were 2
associations.
weeks behind by the time we got to the stage work. She said she wasn't done prepping.
Question over here.
Thank you. Hello, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico. This is for Mr. Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. Did you learn something from the movie as a son and as a father?
Did you what?
Did we learn something from the movie as a son and a father?
To be a father?
Yeah.
I'm only a stepfather, so I'm not a real father in real life, but there's a lot to learn from this script, a lot of wonderful conclusions to come to because of the complexities of this family and of the individuals. So, and working with these people, everybody was a wonderful experience to even at my age, to grow a little bit.
Bravo. Yeah. I mean, also, I think, and I was really kind of buzzed by just the conversations that were going on last night after the screening, where people maybe seen the movie before and said, "Oh, but last night I was thinking about my relationship with my brother, my big brother," or I was thinking about my sister, or I was thinking about this. this gal that I really owe an amends to that was like my high school sweetheart or my old boyfriend or whatever. So it seems like even though you could say it's a father-son story, it's really so much more than that. It just speaks to themes of unrequited things and kind of just trying to come to terms and show up for uncomfortable things, you know, because on the other side, oftentimes there's, you know, some real clarity and some dignity and all that stuff, you know.
A question that I might ask to the whole cast, actually. When you first read such a script, how do you react to the character that you are pitched for or approached for? Do you go, okay, what am I going to do with this? How far can I take it? Can I take it one notch further, physically? How does it work, Vera?
I mean, in my experience, at first, you know, you look at who's at the top, you know, and in the company of great men, heavyweight champions, and so that you just thank your lucky stars for the producers thinking of you, and you take it. But I mean, Sam is such a head turner for me. You know, she had her essence. This is that I, you know, that really. It sort of blew me away. There's a swagger, you know, that she possesses that I sort of, you know, she's the kind of gal that I would love to have as a best friend, you know, and I think the additional notion we're talking about, for me, what's so powerful and was such a lesson was that each one of these characters are in whether consciously or sub, in search of forgiveness or being forgiven, and that's a great lesson. I'm a mother, you know, and like, I agree with you. It just transcends, you know, father-son relationships, mother-daughter relationships, parent-children. You know, so that was a huge impetus for me. But with Sam, yeah, I suppose my focus was just sort of that beautiful notion of the powerful nature of first love, and that. And how it influences us all and sets a tone. That very sort of preliminary experience is so potent, and how you have this neurological connection to this person lifelong. And you know, I just sort of focused on the beauty of that relationship. And I got to say, David Dobkin, probably the most comprehensive director I've worked with since Scorsese. You know, I was not prepared. I mean, that first table, that first hotel read, when really thorough, you know, questioning me about backstory, which, you know, I just relied heavily on that collaboration, you know, organic, the sort of the chemistry, which I think, well, I'm going on and on.
We like it.
We're loving it. Are you kidding? You're talking about me.
Say Scorsese more.
I've forgotten the question by this point, but
No,
I
you know
just,
what's interesting?
yeah.
It's like when you're talking about your first love, which was something she has obviously shared privately with me, a story about. I forgot how imbued that is in the character. It's really amazing how that, we were talking about the hug that you have with him, the kiss at the end, and that small hug that you guys do, and how real that was. And in the moment, we knew it was so real. And I don't know, but I was glad that you brought that up. It is about all the different relationships and the redemption and reconciliation that we miss in life, and a lot of times we don't get there.
Yeah.
Jeremy, Vincent, Dax.
Well, my character is somewhat developmentally delayed, and so it was very important to me to try and serve the story and also be responsible to whatever that condition might be. He isn't able to function on his own independently in the world, and so whatever that struggle was, I wanted to try and make that as honest as I could. And you know, the Picasso painting that you talked about, I think it was also, when I read the script, each of these characters has such distinct voices. So it was like finding, you know, what instrument to be in concert with these other people. And Dale is a kind of, you know, reed instrument, and Downey is a saxophone, and he's a bass, and Mr. Duvall is, you know, maybe
a whole band by himself.
Yeah, exactly. He transcends instruments. So to find that and to all be in concert together was a great challenge and a great joy.
Well, I just want to say I think Jeremy had the probably the trickiest line to walk, and I was so blown away last night when I saw it, because he never went saccharine, he just allowed everyone else to treat him realistically, and I was scared for him, and I think it was so brilliantly done. All I tried to do is not go for the joke, which was really hard to do at times. Go ahead.
Dobkin rode Dax so hard.
Like a racehorse.
It was like, it was blood in, blood out. Sometimes unfairly, we all picked on Dax a little bit, but I also think that, you know, everybody came really willing to have their skin in it. And what Dobkin did was ran this rehearsal process that's unlike anything I've been through since I was going to, I don't know, theater arts or doing regional theater, or I think I remember a movie or two back when it, you know, when rehearsal used to actually be booked as part of the pre-production time, and it just seems to have evaporated, you know. And I remember that that Bobby and I both felt by the time David was done running this rehearsal process with us, we were like, oh wow, that's right, that's how we used to do it, you know. I remember that day. Perhaps Misters Duvall and D'Onofrio would like to comment on it.
Oh, you mean the day we improvised for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes, which was very revelatory and wonderful, that we just kind of, as ourselves, as the characters, just explored different subjects and different topics and began to know each other. And it's kind of a melding process that brought the characters together, which was a wonderful part of the rehearsal process.
You sang under the sycamore tree.
Yeah. Right.
Vincent?
My generation of actors, he was before us, and
before everybody.
and
still here.
And he's one of those actors where he's just so good, and his career has been, you know, so amazing that I never really thought I would have the honor of working with him, because he's just in a whole different category. And then, you know, one day you get the opportunity to do that, and it's just, you know, heaven sent. And this guy. And then this guy over here, Downey, I remember we're the same generation of actor, but he started working before I did. And
But you're older.
I'm older, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Dad. I appreciate that.
You play the older brother.
Yes. Anything else you want to say there, pal? Okay. So I remember sitting with one of my best friends when I was a kid, when I was much younger. We were all much younger, and watching Mr. Downey's performance in Chaplin at the movies. And I remember, I've told Downey this, that I remember turning to my best friend and saying, if this mother so-and-so can do this, I ought to quit. That's how impressed I was, and I still am. So the idea of having a role brought to me by David and Susan and David, with these two guys attached to it, and then having read the role, and then you can see yourself playing it. If you can see yourself playing the part, that's the beginning of the journey of the character. Like when I read something, if I can see myself doing it, if I see Glenn, if I put myself in the circumstance of Glenn and I see it, then I know I'm at the beginning of it. And then after talking to Dobkin on the phone, you know, I was in wholeheartedly.
Question here, sir.
For Team Downey, how was it working, you know, as a couple together? How does that shape your roles, shape the process, you know, because you're together a lot? How did that kind of shape things in the movie for you guys?
Shall I go first for you?
Yeah, you go ahead, baby.
Well, it's not the first time. We've done, actually at this point, quite a few movies together. And it was a choice we made to form the company after having done some together, not with the company. And we love it. I couldn't work another way. You know, making a movie takes so much time, especially as a producer. You're there from the very beginning to the very end. It's so many hours, it's so much energy, and to not be able to do it together, I don't know, you know, how that would feel. And he's my favorite person to work with. And it just, you know, our lives, it never ends. It's kind of all very fluid. Every once in a while, we try and shut each other off, like, I can't hear about that scene again, or he can't hear about me, you know, talking about some production thing. But that lasts about 5 minutes, and then we start talking again about stuff. But, yeah.
It's also very much a threesome with the director. And I mean that in the most platonic way possible, so far. In that, you know, there's all this hope and there's all this work in front of you, and so, you know, before it would be with like Shane Black or Guy Ritchie, but you know, David was the person we entrusted because this idea came through him and the process was so organic, and we were all so in it together, and it literally became kind of like just this like three-headed relationship. Two of whom were at will to make love whenever they wanted to. Mr. Dobkin, would you like to comment on that? Your lack of involvement in our sexual life?
It's a bummer. I was waiting for that to turn, but it never did. It was just, you know, I just, as people, it was just honestly kind of a dream, you know. Susan and I had gotten a chance to work together a little bit, and I just really loved who she was. And Robert and I met under just a general meeting of different circumstances, and we kind of creatively, I was like, wow, this guy is something else, really special. And as I always say, it was pre-Iron Man, so I was able to have my moment there of just the joy and the excitement you had talking about movies and what you loved, and it was just really infectious. And you know, look, I come from another genre of filmmaking, and honestly, I don't think many people would have backed me to make this movie. I don't think anybody would have backed me to make this movie with as much enthusiasm and dedication and trust as these two did. And it's, you know, I will always be grateful that you guys kind of got my back, and you're just really deeply authentic people, and they're loyal, and they're risk takers in the most joyful sense of the word, of saying like, that sounds like a great movie, let's make it. We were like a bunch of kids in a sandbox from the beginning, and it's always been fun, and everybody works hard. And I think your company is going to be amazing, because I just think that you two create an environment that, you know, I have to believe that some of that moment in the 70s when they realized that, shit, we don't know how to make movies, but these filmmakers know how to do it. You know, we're gonna hire people like Coppola and Scorsese, or even someone as wacky as Russ Meyer, to come make a studio movie. And they have that joie de vivre and that spirit that, you know, I think many filmmakers should be knocking at their door looking to make movies with you guys, because you get to make the movie you dreamt of, and that's very hard. And it's not a diss to the studio, because the studio backed us as well. But they're very supportive. But it was just, you know, I've had no experience in my film career like it. So I think that the things that work in this movie have everything to do with that process and the environment that they created. For that to happen. Does that answer a question?
Was that soft-spoken on the set?
Was David?
Yeah.
No, he was like a kid in a candy store on the set. I was watching B-roll the other day, and every shot he's like, yes! It doesn't matter if it was like a sad moment or a funny moment or whatever. So he's trying to be very dignified, I think.
I had to chill out a little.
We'll take 2 more questions. First here. Okay, 3 more questions.
Yes.
And then the gentleman here, and then the lady there. Go ahead.
Carrie Roberts from The Next Take on Super Channel. My question's for Robert. I'd like
Which
to ask.
one?
Robert Downey Jr., please. I'd like to ask you about the relationship that you have with Robert's character in the film. Did you see elements of your own relationship with your own father in the film? And was there, Susan talked about the influence of 70s movies. Was there an influence from Robert Downey Sr.'s films with the judge?
I suspect there always is, but you know, it's this funny thing when you're put with someone like, whenever I would see Bob around, I'd be at a restaurant and I'd be about to go and I'd drop by the table and he'd look up and I'd be like scared, like, should I not have come over to the table, but I don't feel like I should leave without saying hi? And he'd kind of, you know, be polite and give me the wave, because everybody wants to come up to you and say hi. Yes, everybody. But anyway, the opportunity was, we were essentially, I don't want to say strangers, you feel like you know someone, but I mean, suffice to say, I saved a lot of money on therapy with my own dad working it out with you. Thank you very much.
I like that. I like that. Okay, question here, and then the gentleman here. Go ahead.
Barbara from Slovak News Agency. I have a question for Robert Downey and Vera. This movie is about hard decisions, about the family, about the priorities. You both have families with kids. Have you ever have to make a decision that would be not necessarily the most popular one, but it was for overall good for the family? Thank you very much.
The question
Have you ever
to
use a shock collar for your kids?
Shock collar.
Yeah, you know, I think it's a real, they're such a blessed couple. I mean, just to expound, I mean, it really is a trickle-down effect. I think this is why they're going to be so successful as producers. And there's that infectious joy that they possess really stems from their relationship. I have that with my husband. And we are trying to find ways to work together because we travel as a team. It's so great, the symbiosis between these two people, the love. There's a great trickle-down effect, and it blesses everyone in the cast, and it's the atmosphere that they create. And you know, I want to have that. I would love to breathe in my husband every second of the day and have my kids. And that's like, for me as a working mom, it's really difficult. I have a real roll up your sleeves job with my kids, and they're toddlers, and they demand a full-time mommy, and that's my greatest role at the moment. And so I need to pace myself quite a bit, and it's challenging.
Question here, the gentleman. Yes, please.
Thank you. Rob Edelman, WAMC Northeast Public Radio. I have to ask you about that Atticus Finch reference. That wasn't in the original script, was it? Or was it improvised? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it was in the script.
Oh, in the original script?
I know. I'd like to think that everything that's great in the movie was my idea. It's never so not been the case. At the same time, I think sometimes you lean on a good script and you can get in trouble. But I remember, you know, I mean, it was such an endorsement from you. I remember your feelings when you read it, and yeah.
Very, very smart script. Extremely smart.
So it wasn't the original script. Was that before Mr. Duvall was cast, or coincidental, or how?
That does wind up, you're right, that does wind up being a bit of a coincidence, the To Kill a Mockingbird thing. Right. You know, sometimes, whenever there's a, well, just because everyone wants Atticus Finch till there's a dead hooker and then you're in To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh. Yeah, I mean, trust me, we weren't trying to put in Easter eggs, you know, like Cap 3 or anything like that. That usually happens somewhere else. But to me, I think it was just another kind of synchronicity, you know. We all wound up feeling, as we went on this journey together, that there was just this kind of sense of like, oh, the weird thing is I feel like I've kind of always been making the judge, and we haven't seen each other for a bit, but now we're all back together. It's just, the answer is yes.
I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here.
Thank you all very much.
And all the best for the film.